Welcome, welcome. Let me get this going. Uh, Bam. Um, I want to cover a little bit of current events because I'm not able to go as live as much because my son is out of school right now, so it's a little bit harder to get up here, and I don't want to go up really late. Uh, so the riots are still going on. They're not as much, but they spread across the country. Um, in my opinion, well, you know what? I'm going to save that opinion, and I'm going to talk about where I think why I think the riots were important, why I think the whole Elon and Donald Trump thing were important or unimportant, depending on how you look at it, and where we are now. So I'm going to get right into it. Let's go to this presentation. This one's interesting. This one's real interesting. Let's go. Let's pause that, shall we? Oh, let me go back. Let's go back. This is how many Trendy Aragua gang members were arrested in one raid in Texas. And why am I showing this? I'm showing this because you keep seeing people saying no kings and doing these protests and saying Trump's a dictator and all this stuff, when literally he's getting criminals off the street. Literally, that is what they're doing. They did this raid, caught all these people, deported them. And it's almost as if the left doesn't want to talk about this. It's almost as if the no kings protesters don't want to talk about this. And I don't understand why they want these criminals. But if you look at this one, it says DHS sets a record or sets the record straight. 75% of the ICE arrests so far in the first 100 days were criminals with convictions or pending charges. Why is that a bad thing? Why are we fighting and lying about these people and calling them by where they are? A Boston man gets deported, a mom gets separated from her children, and ignoring what's really happening and why these people are being deported. Homeland Security says over the weekend, and this one was today, over this past weekend, ICE arrested 11 Iranian nationals who were in this country illegally. Why is this a bad thing? Is this what we're protesting now? Undersecretary Noam DHS has identified and arrested or suspected known or suspected terrorists and violent extremists that illegally entered this country, came through Biden's fraudulent parole programs or otherwise, meaning you get in, they let you roam the country until you have your hearing in a year or two, or however long it takes for those people to get their trials. That's not being here legally. And what they would do is they would say, well, they're here legally. Biden said they could be here. He said they could be here after they got here illegally. It's still illegal. Because we have been saying we are getting the worst of the worst out, and we are. We don't wait until a military operation to execute. We proactively deliver on President Trump's mandate to secure the homeland. This first video that I'm going to cover is a very interesting take. This young lady actually got jumped. She got beat up about 3 months ago. She's in. Well, I'll just play it. We'll just play it. And this is at a No Kings protest. And what she's going to do is just show the inconsistencies of these people's arguments and why they're not to be taken seriously. Oh, actually, no. Sorry. This, I apologize. I went out of order. The one I was talking about is next. This is protests in Mexico against illegal immigrants invading Central America or from Central America. Even as Americans are called racist for doing the same thing, no one wants illegal immigration. So this is actually Mexico, and these are Mexican citizens complaining about all of the illegals entering through their southern border. And there's a wall down on Mexico's southern border. I don't know if you've seen it. It's got barbed wire. It's got like 5 layers of razor barbed wire. But we're somehow called names, racist, whatever other names they come up with. They call Trump a king, a dictator. But this is in Mexico. What does that sign? Whoa, let me go back quick. What did that sign say? Because it looked like it says invasion. They use the exact same terminology we use. They use the exact same security that we're supposed to use. But they don't get called racist. Isn't that weird? They don't want illegals in their country, just like we don't want them in our country. Send them back. This is the young lady that I was talking about. And these are like real protests. They're out in the streets saying, stop, we don't want this anymore. Like, this isn't like real protest. And it's the exact opposite of what our people are doing, which is we want them here, we want them here. People in Mexico are saying we don't want them here. Get them out. Isn't that weird? Isn't that ironic, to say the least? This young lady, no matter how you feel about this topic, you have to, or you don't have to, I guess. I acknowledge the consistencies in what she's saying. Let's go. Now we're covering the girl that I talked about. Sorry, I apologize. I was a little out of order.
We don't want kings. We want to save our republic, and it's about time that we do something about it. Yeah. And this is a great opportunity since it's the anniversary of the Paul Revere's ride.
Okay.
So that's what that's about.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
Yeah. So what has
the British, right?
Yeah.
Taxation without representation.
Okay.
They got rid of laws. They got rid of juries. So
what has Trump done so far that you think he's a king?
Everything.
Name one.
Name one. Every single executive order which oversteps his powers, and he.
So we've gone through this many times on this channel, and an executive order is an executive order as long as it does not conflict with something that is in the Constitution. You can't say, like, he can't do an executive order banning guns, right? Because that's not legal. It goes against the Constitution. She just said any executive order that he did was unconstitutional. That's the example that she came up with of him being a king. All right. That awkward laugh that she did. This is what they all do. And it's really interesting. If you watch these interviews on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, you'll see a growing number of people asking them questions and they can't answer. And they're really, really basic questions. Why can't you answer that? You can't name one thing that Trump has done that you could consider him a dictator over. You're at a protest. You should be able to name 5, 10 things that get you outside your house. I'm not getting out my house and not knowing why, unless you're getting paid, of course.
Completely does not care whether it's legal or not. He's just pushing as much as he can, and he could care less, and we'll see if he obeys the courts. At this point, it doesn't appear that he's going to, and a king considers themselves the higher power, and that's what he is.
Yeah.
Supreme Court actually backed him on these deportations and said he can start doing it again to any country that'll take the illegals. He can constitutionally do that. California's sued. There's been several sanctuary cities and states that have sued this administration, saying it's not legal. He can't do that, and they're being shut down. It went all the way to the Supreme Court of the land. The highest court of the land said, "Yeah, he can do it. This is a federal issue. It's not a state issue." Sorry, Gavin Newsom. Sorry, what's her name up in New York? I believe the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago. All these people have sued the administration. They all lost. That's it. Supreme Court said, yeah, he can do this. It's his responsibility.
You know who Michael Moore is?
Yes.
Yeah, so he recently said that we shouldn't deport undocumented immigrants because they might cure cancer or diseases. Would you agree with him?
Of course. You know, our country has always depended on immigrants and people new to the country. This incredible amount of wonderful, intelligent, brilliant minds that the U.S. is going to lose by this ridiculous posturing.
So that argument sounds like a great argument for why we shouldn't kill babies in abortion, right? Because one day they might, become a doctor and save lives, cure cancer.
No.
So the reason why I didn't want to say it, because I didn't want to spoil it, she got her. She really got her. Whatever you feel about the issue, if you're going to say don't deport illegals because one of them can change the world for the better, how do you make an argument for abortion? She got her.
Nope. I don't agree with you there.
No. So we shouldn't deport people because they might cure diseases, but we should kill babies even though they might cure diseases?
I completely take option that this is not killing babies. What do you mean by killing babies?
An abortion.
What do you mean by an abortion?
When an abortionist goes in and sucks out a baby that's growing in a woman's womb.
And are you one of those who thinks that life starts at the moment the sperm meets the egg?
I don't think, I know, because that's what science says.
I'm a doctor, and that's not what science says. That's completely.
What's going on, Phoenix Rising? This young lady, she's very good at being unassuming, and she lulls them into these traps, and she's like, oh, okay. And then she hits them with a really, really good point that's really hard to argue against, because you just made an argument that helps her. And she trapped her, and now she's stuck talking about she's a doctor. Okay, let's hear you say that a baby's not a baby until you say it is.
In a religious belief.
So when does life begin?
When does life begin? Life begins. Life begins.
This is a doctor. When does life begin? You knew what the question was. Why do you have to repeat it back? That's somebody buying time. When does it begin? Well, life begins. You're an MD. You just said it. Well, you said you're a doctor, so you probably are a professor of English or something like that.
As a human being, life.
No, as a cat. When does life begin? When does life begin? Real life? Yeah, real life. As a human being? What other life? What are you talking about right now? She already said abortions. There's no other life you could be talking about. As a human being? Yeah, as a human being, lady.
Begins. Life begins as a human being. Life begins at viability.
So how are they growing for 20 weeks before viability if they're not alive? Because dead things don't grow.
Well, there's...
All right. That viability thing is weird. What that means is that the life should be able to sustain itself, right? So then how do you make an argument for somebody who's in a coma? Are they not alive? Are they dead? Why do you have to declare them dead if they are dead? That viability thing never makes sense. What if somebody gets into a horrible accident and needs to be put on life support? Are they not viable because they can't survive on their own? That viability argument is awful, and I don't know why they use it. It's a horrible, horrible argument. What's going on, Paul Thomas? But every time they make it, the first thing I think about is, okay, so when grandma gets old, you can't put her on anything. She's not viable. She can't survive on her own. She's not a human being anymore. I don't know what she is. She's not a person anymore. She's not alive. She's not viable. It's the worst argument that pro-lifers make. I don't understand it. It's really, really weird.
Religious belief.
So when does life begin?
When does life begin? Life begins. Life begins as a human being. Life begins at viability.
All right, I counted it this time. That was 18 seconds it took her to just give that answer. When does it begin? As a human being? Is it a male or female?
So how are they growing for 20 weeks before viability if they're not alive? Because dead things don't grow.
Well, there's something that is a plant's alive.
Yeah. What is a plant? A human?
Plant.
Well, so life is different than human. So what you're really asking is not when life begins. You're asking when there is a definition of a human being. And the definition of a human being varies according to people's beliefs.
The definition of a human being varies according to what you believe. So if you want to call a human being this phone, then life begins when you say that phone exists. What is she talking about? Plant.
People believe that it's at the moment the sperm meets the egg. Other people believe it's at quickening. Other people believe that it's at viability. So there is no scientific agreement about when human life begins.
96% of secular embryologists and biologists agree that life begins at the moment of conception, so they're non-religious, non-partisan. That is
it's human life.
Human life begins at conception.
No, they don't. They don't believe.
It's a study out of the University of Chicago. It's not religious at all. It's totally secular.
No.
She was just waiting this woman, I forget her name. I think her last name's like Craven or something like that. She's so unassuming. She just lets them walk, and they're in a minefield and they don't know it. Well, there's no scientific agreement. She says 96%, and she's citing a University of Chicago study. The reason why she's doing that's a leftist university. What's going on, Meek? It's a leftist university. So you can't arguing or dismissing that makes you look worse. And she's setting her up.
No, that's not true.
Okay, so how, if I miscarry at 8 weeks, that means my baby died. Therefore, they were growing and then they stopped growing because they died. So how is it not alive if I miscarry my baby at 8 weeks?
It's not a human life.
What is it? A frog, a hamburger?
It's an embryo.
An embryo of
Wow.
what?
An embryo that has the potential to become a human being, but it is not.
There are dolphin embryos. I know. You guys are always done.
Well,
When
how
the
long have
conversation-
I'm here for this.
Yeah,
I'm
when
not
the conversation gets a little bit tricky, you guys always walk away. You're a doctor and you don't know when life begins?
I do know when life.
Where did you get your degree? You need a refund.
You're not really listening to me.
You're not listening to me. No, lady, you're not listening to yourself. She just destroyed you using your own arguments, and she destroyed you. She literally said, if you miscarry, any lady in here, you miscarried 8 weeks, it's not a big deal because it wasn't a life anyway. Don't mourn it. It's an embryo. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. You just won't listen to me.
You've got your points that you want to make, and it's not really a dialogue. It really isn't.
It's not a dialogue. She's literally allowed her to say whatever she's going to say and responded. And it literally is a dialogue. They're going back and forth. She didn't overtalk her. She didn't interrupt her. I'm telling you, she just set her up.
So I don't quite know what this is all about, but I'm here for the rally. I'm not here to, engage in this. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's another young lady. Now, I don't recommend this, especially for a woman. Nothing against women, but I would not go into a crowd that's hostile like this. And these No Kings protests were hostile. So I would not recommend doing this.
Don't be mad, her president won.
Get off the plantation! White people, get the fuck off the plantation! Get off the plantation!
You be like that white man, come you that woman. You like that vegan.
And I agree, Miss Phoenix. It is part of the rally. I think it's dangerous if you're one woman and you have people like this acting this way towards you. What's going on, Easy? I don't recommend it. But everyone has a right to protest. But when people are like yelling at one woman, and she's small, it's not like she's a big chick. I would not recommend doing this unless she's got bear spray or something on her. I personally would not recommend any of my daughters doing this or my wife doing this or sisters. So some of the women were yelling, "She's not a woman." The other ones were saying, "You're a woman of color. You should understand. You should understand what? That illegal aliens should be deported or shouldn't be deported. What is your stance? What does her being a colored woman have anything to do with anything?" Disengage.
Democrat every time. Democrats don't do shit. And
And then when I don't vote Democrat, they're like, you're a sellout.
I am a legal immigrant. I was born in Israel, and I came to America as a child, and my parents, okay, they actually had to fill out applications, and I had to go get sworn in to get my citizenship. So why are these people, why are they allowed to cut the line when my family had no line to cut?
How long did that take?
Whatever it took, we stood by the line. Whatever this country told us was legal, we stood by that line.
Were you facing persecution?
I didn't come here illegally. I came here on a visa. I was a child. I came here legally.
Was your country persecuting you?
No, my country
was persecuting me, and I came here and I became an American citizen. I'm a legal alien.
My country wasn't persecuting me.
How long did that take?
For me to become a citizen, I did all the due process, man. Every due process, every paper. Years.
We don't care how long
years,
it takes.
years. And even if it had taken 20 years, you know what?
stay
Let me
in
tell you
local.
something. I've been here 22 years. You know when I became an American? A year ago. Best day of my life after the birth of my kids.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Were you illegal before that day?
No, I was not illegal. I was following the rules. I was under visas. And the moment they said, this is one day over your visa, out. I was out. I was respecting the country that was welcoming me, that was giving me an opportunity and a chance.
Okay.
So I take it Easy's not a Trump fan, and that's fine. You don't have to be a Trump fan. And you could see that as idolizing because she had what she had on. I saw what she was doing as provoking, which is why I recommended against it. I wouldn't intentionally try to draw that kind of attention to somebody who's that small, unless you had security and you can, safely do what you're doing and safely leave, because it's the police's responsibility to protect people on both sides. But when you're in a city like Los Angeles or New York, where these other protests were, there's not enough police to protect everybody. So I just recommended against that. That's all. The questions that guy, that's fireworks. The questions that guy were asking were to try and get people to sympathize for people coming through Mexico and from South America. Were you persecuted? But there's still a process for that, right? That doesn't mean you're allowed to sneak in. Well, how long did it take? Because they say it takes too long. Okay, that's something you can come in and help change or petition people to help change. But that has absolutely nothing to do with coming here illegally. When you come here illegally, none of that matters because you're not supposed to be here. You're not. What's going on, Mel Dub, Dantana? How you guys doing? So it's really weird when people make those arguments because they're irrelevant if you cross the border illegally. It's like getting pulled over and then the police are writing your ticket and then you start talking about somebody else who was speeding. Well, yeah, but you broke the law. It doesn't matter what's going on anywhere else. Well, I don't think the system is fair. Okay, it doesn't matter. You broke the law. That has nothing to do with you. I agree that the process takes too long. They need to figure out a way to make it faster. It ain't got nothing to do with you because you're here illegally and you shouldn't be here regardless. And I don't want you coming back, to be honest with you. And now on to what was happening in LA and I think parts of New York, mostly LA. Now, one of the things that people downplayed or maybe didn't even know is when Trump brought in the National Guard, they were protecting federal establishments, which means that's not going to stop the riots. They're not going down the streets like Gestapo and tanks and the parade and all the stuff that they were saying was happening. That was never the intent. It was to protect federal buildings and put a stop to the attacks on federal buildings and federal property. And that's exactly what he did. And it worked. There's none of that's happening there. So what do? They take it out into the cities.
Entertainment camps and not letting them see their families. They're holding up Gaza citizens and Palestinian citizens. So I think you're going to be okay going up in one way.
Fuck you, piece of shit!
But this is a good one. Extremely important question. What is their point? They are anarchists. They have no point because you hear them talking about Gaza. It's like, well, wait a minute. Whoa, I thought this was about illegal immigrants. What is this? They just go down the line of issues they don't like about Donald Trump. That one lady was talking about executive orders. It's like, what are we doing here? So this is what causes you to hit the streets and cause chaos. This is one of my favorites. I'm glad I paused it right there. You can see the spray hitting them all in the face.
What the fuck do you stand for? What the fuck do you stand for?
Move again.
Fucking asshole! Fucking asshole!
The Bush administration has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And
this is so interesting because this guy, he used to be like a CEO or something. He's a really famous guy. His name is Barry Soetoro. He may have even been like a top CEO. I don't remember exactly who he is, but he's saying exactly the same thing we are, except he said 5 million. What Biden let in was between 12 and 18 million. So what do you think the dire circumstances are there? Now, this guy, again, very smart guy. I don't know who he is, but I agree with him 100%.
oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not
I
paying
agree.
the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. And so what we have to do is create a comprehensive solution to the problem. Now, I have already stated that as president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step.
I like this guy. I don't know who he is. I just know his name is Barry Soetoro. What's going on, Meal Ticket? How you doing, sir? I just know his name is Barry Soetoro. Really smart guy, and I can't find anything that he's saying that I disagree with.
Step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change.
I agree. So what do we need to do? We need to track down these people, and we need to do this. This is what we need to do. And this is actually over at a Home Depot.
Once word got out that ICE was here at the Home Depot on Sunset Boulevard near the 101 freeway, neighbors and people just upset with what was going on started chasing after the agents. Cell phone video shows one agent taking down someone just outside the store.
You let him go.
The Department of Homeland Security hasn't released how many people were detained at this location. Edwin Guevara told us he had some of his workers here when he heard what was going on.
I took the opportunity to treat them the same way they treat us, to scare them and show them that we're not afraid. You know, we're going to stand up for our people, and we're here to support one another. So I started driving around, screaming. I started just chasing them out.
Elias Gar.
He said he was chasing out ICE agents. Do you believe him? I don't believe him. He said he started screaming and chasing them out. Yeah. Oh, okay, buddy. All right.
Garcia says his brother was in his delivery truck when witnesses told him ICE agents busted out a window to detain him.
Apparently there was a raid by ICE and he got detained. He's a U.S. citizen. Before, I guess, they took everything away from him, he had sent me a quick text, and then I tried following up with him, and nothing.
I'm completely outraged.
Now, do I agree with breaking citizens' windows? No. But something tells me there's more to that story. You don't just run up and start breaking windows. Now, if that happened and he's a U.S. citizen, he has a lawsuit. He does, legit. And I support him. Something tells me that that's not the whole story.
LA City Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez represents this neighborhood.
It's completely despicable what is happening, and we're just trying to do as much as possible to support the families that are right now in the crosshairs of this administration.
Mr. Secretary, close to 5,000 Marines and National Guards have been deployed to LA without the request or consent of the California governor or the Los Angeles mayor, Bass. Rather than calming the situation, this troop deployment is purposefully inflaming and escalates tensions.
Macy Hirono is one of the dumbest human beings to ever be in Congress. Senate or House, she's a senator. I don't know how. I really don't know how. But she just said bringing the police inflamed the situation where in LA there was already looting and over, I think it was $30 million in damage at the time. So stopping it is the problem. Or even the threat to stop it, that's the problem. By the way, she's out of Hawaii, so I don't even know why she's talking about Los Angeles. She's probably never even been to Los Angeles.
You claim lethality is your top priority. Do you plan to unleash this lethal force against U.S. citizens and civilians in LA and other cities?
Well, Senator, I would reject most of the characterization of that statement, including lethality against U.S. cities, when all of those National Guardsmen and Marines have conducted themselves with the utmost of professionalism, defending our federal agents, Americans, who deserve to be able to do their job to deport illegal immigrants after the previous administration allowed 21 million illegals to cross our border. I am not here to listen to rhetorical responses. I would like to have a professional response that I...
He was literally answering her question. She called it a rhetorical response. And I reclaim my time.
I would expect from somebody who is the Secretary of Defense. Millions of people peacefully demonstrated this weekend against the president acting like a king. Given this regime's dangerous policy of mobilizing troops inside the U.S., the politicizing of the military is a legitimate concern. So, given the dangerous policy of mobilizing troops inside the U.S., if ordered by the president, I'm going to ask you once again, to shoot peaceful protesters in the legs, would you carry out such an order from the president?
Senator, as I've said before, of course, I reject the premise of your question and the characterization that I would be given or are given unlawful orders. It's all meant to attempt to smear the commander.
This is a sitting senator. She said, if Trump orders you to have your military shoot peaceful protesters in the legs, would you do it? The question is so absurd that there's no way to answer that. What do you say? No? You say yes? You say no, you're implying that it would that Trump would do it. You say yes, obviously you're in trouble. It's just a dumb question and from a dumb human being. Sorry, I don't usually call people dumb, but she's dumb.
Again, considering that the president...
So you initially, originally... Hi, my name is Nick. Nick, nice to meet you. I'm from X. I'm from X, so I have to ask you.
This is Jamie Raskin, Senator Raskin, Representative Raskin. I don't know if he's in the House or Senate, but he's another far left winger. And just watch out. Now, you're allowed to ask them anything you want. They work for you. Public service or public servants can't deny you access to them. So what they usually do is they start running and try to get to their destination so they can go in and hide. But they can't impinge upon your free speech, so you're allowed to talk to them. And that's why it's always funny watching them run and try to get away. But look at how he handles constituents.
Wait, you said Kilmar Abrego Garcia. You voiced a lot of support for him originally. Now he's been charged with facilitating the transport of illegals. Are you still going to double down on that? So he gets due process now? Do you believe in due process? I don't think he. Wait, was he supposed to be here to begin with? Was he illegal? Was he illegally? How did Kilmar Abrego Garcia get here? Allowed him to be here. Did you know that? How did he get here originally? Did he come here legally? Your girlfriend. Did he come here legally? Get back to your job, man. So you can't answer the question. Yeah, no. You seem a little angry about it.
This guy is a congressman. Your girlfriend's calling. Get back to your job. This is a congressman. He's in office right now. He's been in office, I think, 10 years, 8 to 10 years. Keeps getting voted back in. This is how he's talking to a United States citizen.
Is that why? Is it because you were made to be a fool out over it? I mean, you were supporting a man whose wife accused him of beating her.
Trump's judge allowed him to be in the country. Did you know that?
He's not.
Trump's judge allowed him to be in the country.
He was allowed in the country, and then what? And then what happened? And then what happened? Then he was deported back to his home country. You keep calling him the Maryland father, who apparently beats his wife, which she said on the record that he beats her.
Go back to your QAnon meeting.
Is it okay with you? Is it okay with you to see illegals smuggling other illegals through the country? Is that what the people of Maryland want?
Go back to QAnon.
The people of Maryland,
I bet you if you asked him what QAnon was, he wouldn't know what it was. And I don't know why he's saying that. We're in 2025 now, and he's talking about QAnon. He's just throwing out smears on this guy for asking legit questions. Hey, we deported this guy. You demanded he come back. Why? Oh, your wife's calling. Go to work. Assuming this guy's unemployed. Like, what is he doing? This is a congressman sitting right now. He's on several committees.
think they want illegal gangbangers?
Go back to the people on Mars, man. Go back to wherever you
Go back to the
from.
people on Mars.
Okay, so human smuggling, yes or no?
Face.
Human smuggling, yes or no?
Get out of my face, you little fascist. Get out of my face.
Little fascist.
I'm not, yes,
okay.
you are.
All right, well, okay, let's go to Padilla then.
Fascist.
Okay, what about Padilla? Are you
Get
saying
out
what
of
he
my
did
face,
earlier
you
was
little
okay?
fascist.
Going in and interrupting a press conference? Was he a fascist too? Huh? Come
know all
on,
the
man.
fascists.
I understand why you're so angry about this, because you look like a freaking fool now. You look ridiculous.
Get the hell out of my face.
Ridiculous. I'm not in your face, bro.
You little fascist.
You got your little minions pushing me back, so come on.
There's something wrong with you,
I mean,
man.
these aren't very difficult
QAnon
questions.
is calling you. Get back
Do you
to QAnon.
condemn the transport of illegals throughout the country? Do you condemn that? Do you think that people
Get
should be
back to
smuggling
QAnon.
other
Get
illegals
back,
through
you
the
little
country?
fascist, to your
Okay, so you
QAnon
have no
chapter.
answer to that. It seems like a pretty.
Get back. No,
this is
I
a
believe in the
90-10
Constitution of the
issue,
United States.
Congressman.
Do you believe in due process or no?
Do you get
Do
due
you
process?
believe in due process
so you
or not?
come in,
No, answer me one question.
Okay,
you
what was the
little
process
fascist.
that he used to get
Do
into the
you
United
believe in
States?
due
Was
process?
it illegal?
You
Did he
little
come into
fascist.
the country legally?
One yes or no question. Do you believe in due process or not? Yes
Absolutely.
Or no?
Do
All
you?
right, good.
Now,
get
do
out
you
of my
believe
face.
that? All right, so you're not going to answer my questions.
I already answered
yours.
50, you stupid
You didn't answer a
fascist
single one, dude.
I answered 50 of your stupid little questions. This guy is a sitting congressman. Senator Raskin. I believe he's a senator, but he could be a House representative. But listen to this man, how he's talking. This what look. What is that on the back of his head? What in the? Oh, he's got plugs. I didn't know that. Look at Raskin with the plugs. I didn't know he had plugs. Anyway, this guy is talking to him like he's just some kind of homeless guy who's begging for money. He has a right to ask you anything he wants. Anything.
Are you taking back your support for Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Trump's judge kept him in the country.
Okay, so
And
you're
not gonna
okay.
cover
So you're
that.
not. I'm gonna
print
post the whole
that.
thing unedited. Watch.
No.
Watch. You'll see. Trust me. You'll see. Okay, so I'll give you one more chance. Do you take back your support for an illegal alien who was in the country?
Supported an illegal alien. What are you talking about? What's the
calling
quote?
him the Maryland man, calling him a
What's the
constituent.
quote?
Are you serious?
He's not my constituent.
Of course he's not, because he's illegal.
You're a moron, okay? As well as a fascist.
You're a moron.
Go back
I'm a
to your
fascist.
QAnon
See,
meeting.
these
You're a
talking
moron
points
and a
work anymore.
fascist.
There's a
That's
reason
quite
the
a
Democrat
combination.
parties.
You're a moron and a fascist. This is a congressman saying this. Imagine if Ted Cruz said stuff like this. Everyone would know about it. But because it's Raskin, he's just venting. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
There's a reason that your approval rating is in the single digits
Your
at this
approval
point.
rating is -3 points.
Oh,
man. Go
you
get
got
a
me,
job,
bro.
okay?
You got me.
Go
You
get
got
a job.
me.
Yeah, I did get
you. Got me.
I
Okay.
did get you, yeah.
Okay. So,
Goodbye. Go
so
have
are
a
you
great
okay, are
weekend.
you okay with the deportation? Do you think Marylanders want illegals coming into their state? Violent criminal gangbangers?
You're seriously a moron. You know that,
Okay,
right?
you can't. That's a
Unbelievable.
pretty
Seriously a
easy
moron.
question. That's a layup
No,
question,
Donald
Congressman.
Trump's judge kept him in our state. Go look it
Okay,
up,
is
brother.
he the only
Go
illegal
look
in
it up.
Maryland? Is he the only criminal illegal in Maryland? Okay, so you're saying.
Well, I don't know. Is Elon Musk?
So-
No,
so-
here. Elon
so
Musk
you're
said Donald
saying
Trump
that
should be
everybody
Wait,
else-
do you think
Wait,
Elon Musk
so-
should have been deported?
So all
Because
the
he wasn't illegal.
all, no, he wasn't.
Wait, yes, he was.
So all these
he wasn't.
all these other
Tell me why he
illegals in
wasn't.
Maryland. All these other
you
criminal
don't agree
illegals
with
in Maryland.
Steve
Are you
Bannon?
okay? Okay, let's
You
make
don't
it
agree
easy.
with Steve
Let's do an
Bannon?
easy one.
You wanna-
Do you support deporting criminal illegals at least?
What are you talking about?
Are you going to stick the police after me because I'm asking you a question? You've got to be kidding me.
What
Don't
what
try that.
There's something really
or
wrong
just-
with you, man. You're
just
sick
seriously.
in that.
No, just asking you. Just doing my. The American people want to know. Do you support?
Oh, you speak for the American
removing?
people. Have you ever been elected to public office?
Do
What
you-
office were you elected to? You're
Do
speaking for the
you
American people.
support?
What office
do
were you elected
su-
to?
I'm not the one here.
What office were you elected to? You speak for the American people. He's an American person. You've been fighting for illegals for as long as you were in office. And now you're asking that I guess you have to be elected to be able to speak to you. It's unbelievable. This is unbelievable. He should be censured for this. They should take up a vote and condemn this behavior. This is outrageous. He's called this man several names. It's unbelievable.
You said you speak for the American
I
people.
do. I speak to over 1 million people.
Oh, wow.
All right, so
What a
yeah,
big
yeah,
man.
bro. Okay,
What a
so
big man.
so do you support removing criminal illegals from the country? Let's say that. It's an
Like
easy
Elon
one.
Musk,
Right.
yes, I do. Do you support
Okay, all
removing
right.
Elon Musk from
So
the country?
the answer is
I grew up.
Now, this is another one. Now, she is a citizen of this country. She has the right to say whatever she wants. But because she seems to hate this country, I don't know how she keeps getting reelected. She's out of either Minnesota or Michigan. Minnesota. And she hates this country. And she's right here. She's going to prove it like she always does. And for some reason, she's been censured actually in the House before by both sides. And she just keeps going. And I don't know how she has her seat.
In a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's.
She just said this is one of the worst countries. I don't understand how this lady is allowed to serve in this country when you call the country the worst country and you're a representative of the worst country. I was trying not to put that up. Somebody already said it, Mel. This is one of the worst countries. There it is, Paul Thomas. So because she is a citizen, I don't want to call the deporter. She went through the process. Now, they probably should look into how she became a citizen, because she absolutely used her father and her brother to get in here and to get them in here. So maybe they should look into that. But I don't know if that's ever gonna fly. But I want you guys to listen to what she's saying. I need you guys to hear what this woman is saying. What's going on, Taryn? Spare me your angst.
In a dictatorship.
I grew up in a dictatorship.
I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights, while our president is spending millions of dollars propping himself up like a failed dictator with a military parade. It is really shocking, and it should be a wake-up call for all Americans to say this is not the country we were born in. This is not the country we believe in. This is not the country our founding fathers imagined. And this is not the country that is supported by our Constitution, our ideals, our values.
You weren't born here, and they're not your founding fathers. This lady's sick. And another one who should be censured again because it happens all the time. But this woman just said that this is one of the worst countries. But you're a representative. What does that make you? You're at the top. You're at the top of that totem pole. And you're the one who's failing.
And we should all collectively be out in the streets rejecting what is taking place this week.
Yeah, let me just first acknowledge the level of anxiety and fear and trepidation that this administration has caused. You've never seen this.
So this is the mayor of Chicago, and he's talking about the anxiety that people have now that ICE is actually coming in and shipping people back where they came from. It's causing a lot of stress, people.
Society improve or expand under this type of fear. And we're going to continue to resist, and we're going to do it in many different ways, whether it's taken to the streets or to the courts or policy. One of the things that I am very proud of is that we are a welcoming city, which means our local law enforcement do not dub or behave as federal ICE agents.
Chicago, in the city of Chicago, where I grew up, born and raised, spent the first 22 years of my life in Chicago. You have an 80% chance of getting away with homicide if you unalive someone, because they don't prosecute. They may arrest you, but they don't prosecute. And then when they do prosecute, it's not successful. Miss Akimi, how you doing, young lady? So here he is talking about Chicago's welcoming city and talking about the police in Chicago, and he disrespects them on a daily basis because they're wasting their time. They don't even do anything because it doesn't work. It's completely ineffective.
Improve or expand under this type of fear. And we're going to continue to resist, and we're going to do it in many different ways, whether it's taken to the streets or to the courts or policy. One of the things that I am very proud of is that we are a welcoming city, which means our local law enforcement do not dub or behave as federal ICE agents. And so our local law enforcement, as we continue to rebuild and expand trust amongst all of our residents, it's important that we hold that line.
Yeah, if I can just... Immigration is a federal issue. So there are some things that are state issues and there are some things that are federal issues. It's interesting because when Texas, under the Biden administration, was trying to secure the border, they said, no, you can't do that. And they sued the state of Texas because they said, you can't do that because it's a federal issue. Now, when the feds are doing that, cities and states are saying, well, no, no, no. You're not allowed in here, feds. We not only won't cooperate with you, but we're gonna inform the illegals ahead of time that you're coming, and we're gonna work against you. And they think this is okay. This is the governor of Illinois. Oh no, this is California. I believe this is a California rep.
Elaborate, people covering their faces, impersonating police officers. It erodes trust in law enforcement and it undermines community safety. That's really what this bill is about. And I think.
So his beef is the ICE agents are wearing masks. This is in California. That's the state that mandated masks for 3 years straight. And when the BLM riots were going on, the George Floyd riots, they said nothing about the masks. Nothing. No issues with them being an issue of safety. But now that law enforcement is wearing them, it's a safety concern. Let's hear that again.
It erodes trust in law enforcement and it undermines community safety. That's really what this bill is about. And I think many law enforcement officials, legitimate law enforcement officials, would welcome putting in safeguards to ensure transparency and accountability.
So again, California was one of the not all of California. Los Angeles was one of the ones that were trying to push defunding the police. They actually passed a lot of laws, and they reduced their police count significantly before it started hitting Rodeo and Beverly Hills and Pacific Palisades. All of a sudden, where are the police? And they beefed back up the LAPD. But these are now the people who are worried about ICE wearing masks. They're law enforcement, but somehow there's a safety issue there. But every protester that I was showing earlier, every one of them, except for maybe, I'd say 10%. The other 90% were wearing masks. No issues? Really? No issues.
And I think the concern is a lot that's happening. There are a lot of people who are engaged in these enforcement actions, and we don't know, are they federal? Are they contractors? Are they local law enforcement? And so we're requiring that people not have to wear masks except for some very limited exceptions.
If they're local law enforcement, pass a can't pass a law, pass a rule or policy that says local law enforcement can't cover their faces when they're making arrests. Then you could say, oh, well, they're not local. What do you think? They're gangbangers? Is that what you're saying? Gangbangers are riding up in ICE trucks, and all of them in uniform with some of them fully automatic weapons. They're gangbangers. If that's the case, maybe you should be helping them get illegals out. If that's who you think they are, your city's fallen.
And that there be identifying information ensures that we know who is involved here. It's also critical to uphold our state and local laws, including our sanctuary law, SB 54, which says that local law enforcement are not going to be involved in immigration enforcement. So this is, I think, furthering the state's efforts to ensure legitimate law enforcement purposes and to protect Californians.
Look, this one's got.
This is good. So now I get into a section where I'm playing people. What's going on? Spare me your angst. Yes, they want the U.S. to turn into the Venezuelan paradise. People will starve and they keep getting reelected. Their currency crashed within days. $100 bills meant nothing. They started making $1,000 bills, then $10,000 bills. That's what happened in Venezuela. I did a live on that, I believe. Maybe it could have been a video. But that economy collapsed so fast. And that's what they're trying to do here. Hey, everybody, you remember the whole tariff thing and how it was going to break this country? Remember I told you, they're full of it. It's not going to, they're wrong. Every economist, I don't know any economist who doesn't say that these tariffs are going to cause immediate damage to the country and gas prices are everything's going to go up. And it really hasn't changed much, but the interest rates are going down. They cut interest rates. Inflation went down 2%. So if it was so bad for the economy, what's happening right now? What are we watching? Listen to this. Is hilarious.
To catch up to the rest of them.
This is definitely Chicago. It looks like that's Harold Washington Library right there behind them. This is hilarious.
Got his sign ready already. Good. Another privileged ass white man. Look, another privileged ass white man who wants illegals, especially illegal criminals in the country. Oh, look at the ponytail. What, no man bun? Didn't have time to put your hair up, sweetie? Loser! Loser!
You voted for Donald Trump, then that means that you voted for people to be deported, and you voted for children to be taken away from their families, and you're racist, and you're a monster, and you have no empathy, and yada yada blah blah blah. Let me tell you something. The alternative was voting for a woman who was in charge of the border for the last 4 years, and over 300,000 children have gone missing under her watch, many of whom have now been sex trafficked or labor trafficked or are still missing. Tell me again how I didn't vote for the best interests of children? The alternative was voting for an administration who for the last 4 years let millions of illegal embedded people to come into the country where my children live and play Russian roulette with American safety. The alternative was voting for a woman who could not do one interview and give a clear and direct explanation of what she had planned for the border. What you're seeing is that she failed at her job for the last 4 years of keeping that border secure. And before you're like, oh, well, it's not everybody. There are people that come to have a better life, and there are good people. Nobody's saying that there's not, and nobody's saying that they can't be here. Do it the right way. There's 100 people that come, one is bad, the rest are good. Guess what? I don't want that risk. My kids live here. There is a reason that these laws are in place, is to protect American citizens. I don't know why you guys cannot see that. I don't know what's not clicking, what's not clicking. And then you hear, well, Americans commit more crimes in America than other people. And what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? I don't want a criminal in office. I would never vote for a criminal. So the alternative was letting in millions of criminals. That's the better alternative. You guys are sometimes I wonder, The difference between someone who voted for Donald Trump and someone who voted for Kamala Harris, if you ask someone why they voted for Donald Trump, they can give you reasons, logic, statistics, facts. If you ask someone why they voted for Kamala Harris, they're going to give you reasons why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. See the difference? If you watch Donald Trump's campaign, it's about policies that he planned to implement for America. If you watch Kamala's campaign, it's about why you shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. Do you see the difference?
And that's why she lost. That's the bottom line. And they're still doing it, and they're ramping it back up, which I enjoy. Keep creating this violence. Everyone knows who's doing it. They know it's not the right. And Trump's approval rating right now, I think it was at 56 or 58%. I think it's 56% right now that they approve of what he's doing with immigration, which means these people who are protesting are on the wrong side of this issue. And that says a lot of good things for this midterm coming up and for the next presidential election, because they're all wrong.
Right was focused on the right. The left is also focused on the right. There's a problem there. Whenever the left talks about politics, they're always talking about why orange man bad.
I'm at the gym minding my own business. This older white guy comes up to me, pointing to my shirt, and he said, "Let me talk to you real quick." So I walk over there. I'm like, "What's up, man?" He said, "You shouldn't be wearing that shirt right now. You're going to offend a lot of people." I was like, "Who? Who am I going to offend?" He said, "Immigrants." I started laughing. I'm like, "I'm an immigrant. I support the president." He's like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Yeah, born and raised in Iran, man." He gets all confused and he's like, "Well, how about the soldiers, military's being deployed to target protesters?" I was like, "I like law and order too. I like stores that are not looted. I like taxi cabs that are not burned. I don't know about you. I support him on that." And he's like, "Well, a lot of people in the military don't. They're speaking out. They're walking away." And I was like, "Well, guess what, man? I'm a veteran too. And the first thing they teach you in the military that you obey the chain of command. And guess who's at the top of that chain? It's the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States." So I told him this: if you are talking about immigrants, you're wrong. You're talking about illegal immigrants. I spent 3 years in a refugee camp in Turkey, waited my turn with no source of education, no source of income, because we knew what was on the other side. And when we got here, we didn't raise the Iranian flag. We raised the American flag and the Texas flag, and we still do today. So you're not talking about immigrants. You're talking about illegal immigrants, those people who invaded this country. And anybody in the military that have a problem with this, or like this guy, or those foreigners that are raising the foreign flag, you all are more than welcome to get the hell out and go find another place.
One person trying to.
So I played this in my last live, and there's a reason why I'm playing this. So this is an incident that happened. That white vehicle is an ICE vehicle, and we'll just play this.
Stand right in front of this SUV here, but he's gonna. It's just such a dangerous situation here, and it's really not going to do him any good to be standing there and possibly get ran over by agents. So here they are. They're on 9th Street now. The crowd is running alongside with these vehicles, and I'd pretty much guarantee that this SUV is not going to stop. Someone throwing, looks like,
wow. There it is.
All right, let me widen out here. Okay, so we saw some eggs being thrown at the vehicle. Now he is just, partly ran over by that SUV.
Oh, we do
and
see
there
that
goes,
person
there goes.
getting up.
Oh, it looks like a bicycle was also struck in the crosswalk here.
All right, so I'm gonna cover it, but those of you old enough to remember Rodney King situation will remember the name Reginald Denny. What's going on, TP? This is what happened to Reginald Denny. There's a reason why cars don't stop. Anyone who was alive and remembers the Rodney King riots remembers this situation. And this is, I apologize in advance. The good thing is that it's grainy footage and you can't really see it. But everyone remembers Rodney King and him getting beaten. It was brutal, really, really bad. But a lot of people don't remember this.
South Central, drivers of automobiles and trucks that enter this area can expect to, oh, look at that. Terrible. And there's no police presence down here. They will not enter the area. That's right. This is attempted murder. No, there's no shutting down Florence. Let's shut Florence Boulevard down. That's the answer. We're going to tell the LAPD to do that now. Tell LA.
Now we saw this live, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And those LA riots were different because they were protesting something that was definitely wrong. Police really, really beat Rodney King bad, but that had nothing to do with this random truck driver, random white guy. They dragged him out of his truck, beat him, kicked him, stomped him, hit him with that giant brick. And they continued to do it. They robbed him after the fact. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it was brutal. So when you see things like what the ICE agents did, where I ain't stopping. These are people who probably have memory of this and are like, nah, you ain't pulling me out my car. And even if your doors are locked, if somebody breaks your window and opens your doors, you are now at risk. It is extremely dangerous to be sitting in a car that's getting surrounded. I've been through this in the city of Chicago. I've told this story when I was with my father driving. We were over somewhere near 47th Street on the other side of Ashland. So it's probably like Ada or Loomis or something. And they had changed that street to a cul-de-sac, and I didn't know that. And my father was driving. He was old at the time. And they still started breaking our window. They started throwing bricks at our car. You cannot be surrounded. And I don't think most people want to run somebody over. You put them in a situation like this, they are now fleeing for their life.
PD to shut Florence Boulevard down and Normandy because people are still driving through here.
They're celebrating, they're recording it. So now when you see stuff like this, again, I'm hitting the gas. I don't care what happens. If somebody starts doing this to my car right now, 2025, and anyone's in front of me, I'm sorry. You shouldn't be in front of me. You see what's happening to my car. This is insanity. And this was in East San Jose.
Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! Oh shit! You from fucking Tennessee! Bitch ass!
There's some random white guy trying to say, hey, what are you guys doing in the middle of the freeway? And he quickly realized this is a mistake. This is why I recommended against that young lady doing that counter protest by herself. If she was with a group, I wouldn't be as reluctant to do that. But this guy is a grown man, but he quickly realizes, oh, crap, there's a lot of people out here.
What is all this about? Who? Black Lives Matter, bro. Black Lives Matter.
So now he's in a situation where he can get his vehicle destroyed, or worse, get Reginald Denny and beat down over this BLM stuff. What do? You sit there? Ron DeSantis came up with something.
They're throwing bricks at the police.
Now, if they're willing to do this to the police, what do you think they're going to do to you? Is this safe to get surrounded on a street and on a freeway by people? No, it's not. So you keep saying, oh man, this person needs to be arrested. They just ran over a person. What were they doing in front of the car? Why are they trying to stop the car? In Chicago, if it's late at night and there's no one around, you do not stop at stop sign. At least not when I was growing up. You slow down, you look, and you keep going. You just don't stop. It's dangerous depending on where you are. They're doing this in broad daylight to the police. To the police. Look at these idiots. This is a running vehicle. How do I know it's running? Well, the lights are still on and it's in the middle of the street. So nobody turned the car off and left the lights on. That's just not how cars work these days. He's pouring gasoline on the engine. Is it safe to stop? I don't know.
Oh, shit. What the fuck?
Is that funny? Is that funny? Is it safe to stop in the street when people are surrounding your car? I would say no. Absolutely not. They're torching cars and they're laughing at it. Oh, wow, we all almost died. That's so funny. That leads us to this. This is pretty gruesome, and I forgot to blur out the very bottom part. But you can read what it says. This car runs over a protester during demonstrations downtown LA, June 15th. So this was last week. Most of you probably already saw it anyway. So I apologize in advance if you haven't seen this. It's not that bad, but I would not want to be her. But what is she doing? Look at her right now. Look at her. She's right about here on your screen. What is she doing? Why is she in front of this car? This person, I believe, got arrested. We'll see. We'll see. Whew. She ran over a leg. And it says tensions have flared over the past few weeks as people protest against ICE immigration raids. Why were they standing in front of that car other than to stop it? How do you know they're not going to reach for your windows? If my wife was in that car, I would have prayed that she drove off and did exactly what that person did. But guess what? She's in California. So now that woman got arrested, or at least is being charged. I don't know if she's still in custody, or I don't know the particulars. But what did they think was going to happen? They thought they were going to be able to stop, maybe get her out of the car, light it up like they did that Jeep and several police cars. Now she's the victim because she got run over.
New video shows the scene at 5th and Hill around 7:30 when a protester was run over by the driver in this red Toyota.
They hit someone, they ran over her leg.
Protesters said they were blocking the intersection when the woman was hit. After the crash, the driver took off. Minutes later, paramedics rushed the injured protester to the hospital.
She's thankfully safe, but yeah, no, this is what's kind of going on.
The violence.
Thankfully safe. How about you don't stand in front of a vehicle and you can ensure safety? I promise you'll be safe. But they make it sound like she's the victim. This is insane.
Run over by the driver in this red Toyota.
They hit someone, they ran over her leg.
Protesters said they were blocking the intersection when the woman was hit. After the crash, the driver took off. Minutes later, paramedics rushed the injured protester to the hospital.
She's thankfully safe, but yeah, no, this is what's kind of going on.
The violent hit and run marked the end of what?
A violent hit and run. So I'll give you this. It was a hit and run, but why was she running? You surrounded the car and started climbing on her hood. It's not like she just drove through a group of people. We've seen that happen. That's horrible. But that's not what this was. That's not what this was. This lady, let's see if I can go back a little bit more. That's good enough. This lady was, look at this. All right. They are actively trying to not allow her to move her car. three people are in front of the car. One of them is physically touching her car. Why? What are you hoping to do here, lady? It's you against the car. But people know, well, they're not going to hit me. I've had people do that to me, and I'm like, if I was crazy, I would just run you over. Yeah, people do that. Like, they just start walking in front of the car. It's like, hey, what? You understand I'm in a car? I don't understand people. But this is a violent hit and run? Who's the violent one here? Before she starts going, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a few people on the other side of the car, in front of the vehicle. What? And on the side of the vehicle. What are you doing? Violent hit and run.
New video shows the scene at 5th and Hill around 7:30 when a protester was run over by the driver in this red Toyota.
They hit someone, they ran over her leg.
Protesters said they were blocking the intersection when the woman was hit. After the crash, the driver took off. Minutes later, paramedics rushed the injured protester to the hospital.
She's thankfully safe, but yeah, no, this is what's kind of going on.
The violent hit and run marked the end of what was otherwise a quiet day downtown. There was
It's always a quiet day. It's always peaceful. A quiet day, nothing else is happening, and then somebody randomly gets run over by a car for standing in front of the car and beating on the hood with about 5, 6 other people. And it's a violent hit and run.
There was an afternoon protest outside City Hall.
This is when they were on the 101. You're on a freeway during driver's ed. Way back in the day, there was one place where they said you can run somebody over and you won't get in trouble. That was on the freeway. And the reason was no one should be walking along the freeway. Now, if people are walking on the freeway, they expect everyone to stop. You're going 60, 70, 80. Stop. There's someone on the freeway. Why are they there? What are these people doing? Look at this. I'm not going to stop. I'm sorry. I pray I'm never in this situation during a protest. Now, if there's just people walking in front of my car, obviously I'm not going to just start running people over. But if it's a protest like this, I don't know these people. I've seen what's happened to several human beings getting dragged out of their car or having their car torched or whatever the situation is. Or I have to go pick up my son. I got to go pick up my son. He's 6 years old. Maybe I'm late because of this protest. And he's in daycare. At the time he was in, now he's in kindergarten, but he's going in the first grade. Jesus. Anyway, when he was in pre-K, I had to be there. Maybe I have to pick up a little child and you are just standing in front of my car, not letting me move. Why? Why? And absolutely no, they never work. They never work. All it does is create violence. This is the 101 freeway. Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. This is my favorite one. This look at this, and no offense if you're white. But this woman here, who's clearly a woman of color, is saying, hey, what are you doing? I'm trying to get to my kid. The example I just gave you guys. I need to get home. And they don't care. They don't. They're out there supposedly protesting for people and women of color not being separated from their children while they're separating this woman from her children.
That's what happens to my kid. I can't help it. But you can if you could just move out the way. You're not going to. How is this a peaceful protest if there's nothing to do? No, it's not.
How do you all as white people feel about stopping a black woman from going
work.
Oh no, not work.
Couldn't care less. He's laughing. So I apologize. I thought she was trying to get home to her kids. She's trying to get to work. She said, hey, if I lose my job, I got kids. I can't lose my job because you want to stand in traffic. Oh no, not work. Doesn't care. He couldn't care less. Why? Because she's a citizen. She's not illegal. Now, if she was illegal, they probably part like the Red Sea. This is unbelievable. They don't care. Black people, Hispanic people, any citizen, white people. The people who are doing this do not care about the cause. What they're doing is trying to create anarchy. They don't like laws. They don't like the current government. Now, if this was Biden, they wouldn't be doing this at all. They wouldn't be doing this at all because that's their guy. But because Orange Man bad, they think it's okay to stop United States citizens from going to work or going home, depending on the time of day, going to your kids, going to a sick loved one, going wherever you're going. They think it's okay to block you because they want. That's it. I want to do this. You can't stop me. Oh, no, not work. She's pleading with these people to get out the way. No. Two white people are telling the black woman, no.
I care so much.
So you don't care about stopping black people from going to work? Look at this line that you guys are causing. I'm not causing no problems. I'm not trying to. We're just trying to leave.
In a podcast earlier this week, the governor told Florida drivers that they can hit protesters if they need to, quote, flee for their safety.
I laughed so hard when Ron DeSantis did this because I could not agree more. And you don't know if you're in danger. How do you know? The best way to know is to stop having people or allowing people to just stand out in front of cars while they're protesting, because by nature, the protest means they're angry at something. Don't stand in front of the car. Please. If you do.
The violence and protests in California prompted Florida's governor to go on the Rubin Report podcast with this message.
Great.
If you're driving on one of those streets and a mob comes and surrounds your vehicle and threatens you, you have a right to flee for your safety. And so if you drive off and you hit one of these people, that's their fault for impinging on you.
Ron DeSantis with a warning in advance of tomorrow's anti-Trump No Kings rallies. Hundreds are planned nationwide and dozens are set to happen across Florida.
You still have an obligation to watch where you're driving.
Miami defense attorney Mark Aguilar has a concern about the governor's messaging. In 2021, the legislature passed the Combating Public Disorder law, and that was in response to the Black Lives Matter protests after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. It enhances Florida's laws and penalties for protesters who engage in any type of violence. Aguilar says a driver hitting a protester would fall under the state's Stand Your Ground law.
The right to use deadly force in Florida only occurs when you reasonably fear death or great bodily harm. You don't get free rein to hit protesters just because they're around your vehicle.
You don't have to sit there and just be a sitting duck and let the mob grab you out of your car and drag you through the streets. You have a right to defend yourself in Florida.
When 500,000 children were smuggled in this country, where were the advocates when the last administration lost track of 300,000 children? Where were the...
I covered that. For those of you new here, I cover everything that the media does not cover. What's going on in Leicester? I covered that. They lost over 300,000 kids. I think the age was 16 and under. Just lost them. So now all of a sudden they're concerned, but listen to what Holman's saying. Like, where was this concern in the last administration? Didn't exist at all.
The advocates were the significant increase in sex trafficking of women and children under the last administration because of the open borders. Where were the advocates for 250,000 Americans dying from fentanyl because of the open border? Where were the advocates then? Where are the advocates for the hundreds of angel moms and dads I met that were separated from their children because they buried their children, because their children were killed by an illegal alien? Where are the advocates then? I mean, are they really about humanity and the safety and well-being of migrants? Where were they? Where over 4,000 aliens died making the journey under the Biden administration? An historic high number of aliens died making that journey. Where are the advocates at? The advocates pick and choose. So this isn't about humanity, it isn't about protection. If it really cared about the protection of illegal aliens or migrants coming to this country, where were they when 4,000 died making this journey?
Well, I would add to that, where are the advocates
for those that are being enslaved in the United States right now because of the exploitation of the cartels holding their families under scrutiny and threatening them, intimidating them with torture or death if they don't do their criminal activity here in the United States. Where are they advocating for them to be found, rescued, and gotten out from under the thumb of the cartel?
I covered this also. And I think maybe Miss Akimi covered this also. They would give different color wristbands to the illegal aliens before they get here. And those wristbands represented how much money was still owed to the cartels. So when they get here, they make whatever they need to make, and they still have to send that money back to the cartels under the threat that either they're going to be found or their family back in Mexico or whatever country they came from is going to be found. So they would have blue, I'm just going to make up colors, blue, green, pink, orange, yellow. And depending on what color it was, that's how much you owe. And it's a whole system. But nobody cares about that. They just want illegals here. Nobody cares about that. And it's like, this is weird. Because I think the number, you know what? I'm going to look it up right now because I don't want to mistake this. Percentage. Sorry, I wasn't planning on doing this while crossing. Let's see this. There we go. I'm going to share this real quick so you guys can see what I searched. I'm not going to say it, but I want you guys to see this because this is important. Share screen. Allow. And I'm gonna, let's see, make this single screen. So what I typed in was the percentage of women or girls are warded while crossing illegally into the US. And when I scroll down, it says it could be as high as 80%. I want you to think about that number. Amnesty International, who wants all illegals here to stay, they say 60%. So even if that's the correct number, I need you to think about that. According to liberal estimates, over half of the women or girls who come across our border get R-worded. Does that make sense to you that this is what they advocate for? According to the other side, it's 80%. So we'll just put it right down the middle and say 70% of all women or girls who cross our border illegally are R-worded. And this is what they're for. This is what they're promoting. They're actively promoting it. Is that okay? Is that okay with you? I see that as a problem. I see that as really scary. And the other things they were talking about was smuggling drugs, of course. That's the one everybody talks about. But human trafficking, getting these people in here who don't have any authority over themselves because they owe money to cartels. So what that means automatically that they have no choice but to either break the law here to make the money or get a job to make the money and send back to Mexico. Usually they're on a time frame. There are a lot of people who talk about this. There are some really good ones. I watched the Joe Rogan podcast and he had a guy on. I can't remember his name. If I remember, hopefully I remember. Let me make a note to put this in. I'm going to put this one episode in of the Joe Rogan podcast where the guy was talking about this. And this is what he did for a living. He was on the border. And let's see. Rogan. Illegal alien link. I'll just put that so I remember. And what he talked about was all the things that happen on the border, and it's unbelievable that this is what the left is fighting for, that anyone's fighting for. I'm going to watch that today. I downloaded that, Taryn. But it's unbelievable. These people are going through to get here, which by default means this is a better country than where they're coming from. But then when they get here, they fly their flag, and it really, really bothers me.
Where are they for that?
Nowhere to be found. Where are they when the 300,000 missing children, we already found nearly 9,000 of them? Where's the thank you to ICE? Where's the thank you for ICE for taking 29 members of TDA off the streets in New York City 2 weeks ago? Where's the thanks for ICE for all the public safety threats they've taken off the streets? In Massachusetts, over a dozen illegal aliens who raped children. The men and women at ICE are doing a fantastic job. And as you and I discussed many times, immigration enforcement has always been controversial. It's always been emotional. I get it. But we really are doing the best we can to make this country safe again. And we continue. Okay, yesterday was a criminal investigation, have to do with money laundering, tax evasion, customs fraud, get that. But the majority of our time is spent arresting public safety threats and national security threats. But as I said many times, if you're in the country illegally, you're not okay. Either you can leave on your own or eventually we'll find you. We're going to enforce the law. Entering the country illegally is a crime. And especially when you spend billions of dollars in due process. A federal judge said you must leave, and you don't leave, you become a fugitive.
That's it. So back to more of this nonsense. This was in front of a federal facility, and military is going to do what they're going to do. They need to do this.
Well, the dots are very easy to connect because you have this group known as CHIRLA, the Center for Humane Immigration Rights, Los Angeles, that number one is
That is an American flag. I'm telling you guys, and this is not being dramatic, I really hate watching the flag get burned like this, especially by people who are here illegally and don't want to go home. If an American does it, it's bad, but it's not as bad to me for some reason. I don't know. Because it's all right. You can do that. If Ms. Hakimi did it, I wouldn't like it, but it's her right to do that. It's her freedom of speech to do that, right? That's her freedom of expression. If an illegal does it and is doing it because we're sending them home, it really bothers me. It really bothers me.
massive contributor to Gavin Newsom. They spent $500,000 to get him elected governor. And then, what do you know? They end up getting massive funding from the state, $34 million. They use this money for things like a campaign to abolish ICE. And then, when it came to the targeted immigration operations in Los Angeles, they would be on the ground figuring out where ICE is at any given moment, where ICE agents could be found, and then they broadcast out their precise location in real time so the rioters know exactly where they are, and they can then converge on that site and attack the officers and obstruct the operations.
So I don't know if you guys heard what he just said. There are NGOs, non-government organizations, that get grants, and they use the grant money to do everything he just said. That CHIRLA group is one of them, and I got some dollar figures for you. But they're actively using federal grants and state grants to take the money and promote illegal immigration and riots. Literally.
And so, this is very clearly a key part of the problem. So I've introduced legislation saying that if you are a so-called nonprofit that is engaged in these sort of activities where you're encouraging, organizing, inciting, participating in riots, then number one, you definitely shouldn't be eligible for any public funding. But number two, you shouldn't be able to claim tax-exempt status as a nonprofit because you're not engaged in anything we want to encourage by nonprofits.
So this is some of the money that these NGOs are getting. The Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and there's going to be a little bit of redundancy, but not much. They got $29 million in funding, grants. Immigrant Defenders Law Center got $19 million. California Immigrant Resilience Fund of $14 million. Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, $7 million. Central American Resource Center, $3.5 million. These NGOs give free legal aid to illegal immigrants, and they fight against deportations. They offer cash to illegal immigrants, including those with criminal backgrounds. This is what they're doing with public money, public funded. For example, the Immigrant Defenders Law Center represented illegal immigrants with serious convictions such as unaliving and domestic violence and deportation cases. According to the investigation, the Office of Refugee Resettlement under the Department of Health and Human Services also funneled significant federal grants and taxpayer taxpayer dollars to these NGOs. For example, listen to this. The International Rescue Committee received $598 million in the last 5 years, with $337 million just between last year and the year before. That's insanity. The Open Books investigation said the NGOs are funded by taxpayer dollars and they engage in politically charged anti-federal authority activities like advocating to dismantle the arrest to deportation pipeline. This is why Trump was threatening to pull funding. And he can. I believe he's going to win that. But this is where your money is going. It's not just state money now. Now we're talking about Miss Hakimi. You're paying for illegal immigrant funding and rioting in Los Angeles, California.
Hello.
Now, this I'm iffy on. I don't know how I feel about this because this is similar to what Canada did. But if they can determine NGOs, again, non-government organizations that get federal money, if they can determine they're doing that, I'm all for this. For private citizens, I'll talk about it in a second.
I'm Bill Asaley, United States Attorney for the Central District of California.
And I'm Akil Davis, the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office.
And I'm Tyler Hatcher, the Special Agent in charge of IRS Criminal Investigation here in Los Angeles.
The right to assemble and protest peacefully is protected by law. Unfortunately, we have seen individuals whose intentions are to cause damage and to assault law enforcement. For example, last week we arrested an individual who was charged with conspiracy to commit and aiding and abetting civil disorders. These violent agitators put peaceful demonstrators at risk.
The FBI and our federal partners will continue to investigate individuals and organizations who are knowingly funding or committing acts of violence against law enforcement, as well as the destruction of property.
We are currently tracing money to determine who is providing funding for these riots. Funding crime doesn't just affect the criminals, it also disrupts entire communities. Each dollar funneled into illegal operations fuels violence, undermines law and order, and perpetuates fear.
I would need to know what the warrant process is in this, because if I'm, say Miss Hakimi, I keep using Miss Hakimi because she's up on my screen every time I bring up an example. Say Miss Phoenix Rising has an organization, a grassroots organization, and they just want to protest. And I donate to them and I just send her, I don't know, 10 grand, right? If one of those people does something wrong and gets in trouble, these people are going after me. And I'm executing my freedom of speech and I'm donating to a cause that I believe in. That's where this is a gray area. And I'm all for law enforcement, but I don't know how I feel about tracing money. I want to know how they're doing it. And I need to know what the warrant process is, because if they can just look into anybody, that's not good. Like, you still need probable cause. This is America. You can't just start stopping people's money flow like they did in Canada when the truckers were not doing what Trudeau wanted. They literally just stopped and cut off bank accounts. I'm not for that. And I'm not sure I'm okay with going after people for donating to an organization. They need to figure out how to do this properly. And I'm going to be watching this because I'm not sure how I feel about this. I agree you can't be funding, violence or whatever, but how do you know the intent of the donator? Now, if you're looking at the federal funding and the state funding and they're doing it, take their money. I don't care about that. But if it's individuals, like Taryn wants to donate to a cause and then one person happens to do something illegal, hey, you can't put that liability on me. Like, that's crazy. And you're impeding on our free speech. I can donate to somebody. Now, if they're a known terrorist group or something like that, okay, cool. But this one here is dicey.
Make no mistake, we will identify and disrupt financial networks supporting these criminal activities.
Think before you act. The legal consequences for financing or aiding and abetting these crimes are harsh. They include imprisonment and fines.
So now, the Supreme Court made a decision to what I said earlier. Yes, Trump can continue to deport these people, and he can do it how he wants, essentially. So I want you to listen to Stephen Miller.
Credible victory, the Supreme Court win. It allows President Trump, as the law has long said, but the courts have blocked, it allows President Trump to send illegal aliens convicted of rape, murder, homicide, assault, battery, crimes against children to any country around the world that is willing to accept them. So whether that be South Sudan, or whether it be Somalia, or whether it be Ethiopia, any country in the world that is willing to accept these monsters, we can get them out of our country and be free of them forever. The only thing I have to share tonight, Sean, in a little bit of breaking news, is that the district court judge in Boston has said he's going to defy the Supreme Court's ruling. So expect fireworks tomorrow when we hold this judge accountable for refusing to obey the Supreme Court.
This guy is who he's talking about. Judge Brian Murphy is now openly defying a Supreme Court order. He says his injunction remains in full force and effect, notwithstanding today's stay of the preliminary injunction by the Supreme Court. He cites Justice Sotomayor and her opinion in saying that it is illegal. It is an illegal order and not properly was not brought properly before the Supreme Court. So, after a ruling, you have dissenting opinions, and judge will say, "Hey, I agree with," or "This is why we did this." Maybe Clarence Thomas will say, "This is why we did this." And then you'll have like a Sotomayor say, "I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. The Supreme Court decision was a Supreme Court decision." He's using the dissenting opinion to say, "Nope, I'm not doing what the Supreme Court says." He can't do that. He can't do that. He can't do this. Is another judge. I did a whole live on judges. This is another judge who's just breaking the law. And hopefully they take his ability to be a judge away from him. I hope he loses his law license. You can't just defy the Supreme Court because you don't agree. You can't do that.
The tensions between Israel and Iran aren't...
All right, so now, this is why I think what we're seeing, and I truly believe this is all a distraction. I don't believe these people care about anything, to be honest with you. I think they're all anarchists, but I think it's been on the news because there was nothing else to put on the news. And I believe they don't want people covering this conflict. This is why Elon Musk and Donald Trump had their little back and forth. Those are just distraction stories. They don't mean anything to me, which is why I don't really cover those. I look at, okay, what's really going on here? And this is what happened last Friday.
Rising. They have boiled over at this point with airstrikes back and forth for most of the week.
Now, President Trump says that he'll make a decision in the next few weeks on whether or not he'll order an American strike on Iran. And this comes after Iran hit several civilian targets in Israel today. Here's Fox's Trey Hingst.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had a message directly from President Trump Thursday as he continues to weigh U.S. involvement in the Israel-Iran conflict.
If there's a chance for diplomacy, the president's always going to grab it, but he's not afraid to use strength as well.
So far, Israel has launched dozens of strikes against Iranian nuclear and military sites, but they've not yet been able to hit the Fordow nuclear facility, which sits hundreds of feet underground.
That was put there so that it could not easily be subject to aerial bombardment.
The U.S. could use its powerful bunker buster bombs to take out the facility, but those can only be dropped by Air Force B-2 bombers flown by American pilots, and feelings about taking that step are mixed.
Look, I want to see someone finish the job, whether it's Israel, whether it's the United States of America.
The idea that one strike is going to be adequate, I think, is a misconception.
Experts say there are alternatives to a U.S. strike. They're just not as good.
Israel can certainly conduct a ground raid, secure the facility and then blow it up. There's a lot of risk associated with that.
Meanwhile, Israeli officials say they'll step up attacks against Iran after a missile barrage Thursday hit several civilian targets, including a hospital.
We're targeting military sites. We're targeting nuclear sites. They're targeting civilians because they're a criminal regime.
President Trump says he'll make a decision within the next 2 weeks about whether or not to get directly involved in the Israel-Iran conflict.
We keep
Or did he get involved? So just so you guys know where I stand on stuff like this. I don't believe the United States should be involved in any foreign wars. Israel is already at war. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, and I'll show what this whole Iran thing is about. But Israel is in war right now in Palestine with Hamas. If you guys see what happened there, it is unbelievable how many citizens, not military, how many citizens have been killed or have been unalived in that conflict. The numbers are between 80,000 and to a couple 100,000 citizens, not military. If you want to take Israel's numbers, they'll say 30,000. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. That has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with Phoenix Rising, Thick Cut. That's got nothing to do with us. We need to stay out of that. We can try to broker peace. That's fine. Okay. Now Israel starts bombing Iran. And it's like, well, this is interesting. Why are they trying to get us to be involved? And I'm not one who makes quick judgments on stuff. So people were turning on Trump quick when he did this. And what he did was he struck their nuclear facilities. And I'm going to play that in a second. But he's not being led by anybody. And I'm going to show you guys that right now.
Hearing Israeli politicians talking about regime change in Iran, they're not really discussing what's next. So it will be interesting to see what President Trump was told the Israeli officials, the Israeli government thought will be coming next in Iran, and whether or not that actually matches up to reality. If the president thinks that the regime is on its last legs, or if the Israelis told him that, and that there is about to be regime change, and that means America's involvement will be very slight, that will be interesting. But I wonder if President Trump did get some assurances or some confidence from the Israeli government.
And so I'm not pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. I am pro-stay out of it. That is their war. We don't have to blindly support anyone just because they're our ally. Now, if they got attacked, we can support them. And they did get attacked. But the response has been 100-fold to the damage that was done on October 7th. So what is our role in this? It has nothing to do with us. It really doesn't. Iran didn't attack Israel. Israel just started bombing them because they say they can't get a nuclear weapon. Okay, do what you got to do, but that has nothing to do with me, and it doesn't serve us anything. We get nothing out of this. Same with Ukraine. I've talked about that a lot. Why are we fighting against Russia? That's their war. They can fight it. Oh, he's going to take over all of Europe. Okay, then we'll get involved. But as of right now, they're at war with Ukraine. That's it. Still hasn't stopped. So we've cut funding drastically there. And I don't like war. I don't like citizens dying. And I don't like getting involved in the killing of citizens because it's not our place. How are we making the world better by joining in on the unaliving of hundreds of thousands of people? Like, I don't see that. That doesn't make sense to me.
About what they thought would be the next step in Iran.
These last couple of years after October 7th, a lot of Israel's focus has been, yes, on directly destroying Hamas in Gaza, but then it destroying Iran's other group in the Middle East, where you have been so many times in Lebanon, the Hezbollah destruction of the infrastructure of that organization with those beepers and the walkie-talkies has been from A to Z. This is a different time for Iran as a consequence of October 7th and all of its allies.
Iran is now.
So before I go over this is ridiculous. Again, that has nothing to do with us. And why it's really weird because the right now is really split on this. You have some people who like the Ted Cruz's of the world, who are all for this. Yes, kill them all. It's like, oh, dude, slow down. What are we doing here? Anything for Israel, anything for Israel. It's like, all right, hey, this has nothing to do with this. Then you have the Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens side are like, hey, why are we doing anything just because this guy on the screen says it? Benjamin Netanyahu. Since 1992, this is what he's been saying, that Iran is a nuclear threat to the world. Let's see, what year are we in? Last I checked, it looks like I think we're in 2025. And he's saying the exact same thing. I'm not pro Netanyahu. I'm not anti Netanyahu. I don't care about Netanyahu. That's who I am. And I don't believe we have anything to do with this. I agree, Taryn, to an extent. And if they mess with us, handle them. But I'm not for this, whatever this is. I'm not for this because, as you can see here, and I'm going to play it and then I'll finish what I'm saying.
Trying to develop nuclear bombs. I think the United States should be very clear in forming an international coalition with Israel, of course. We have to make sure that these single-man regimes do not acquire weapons of mass destruction. The most dangerous of these regimes is Iran. I believe that only the United States can lead this vital international effort to stop the nuclearization of terrorist states. But the deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. Time is running out. By next spring, at most by next summer, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. Iran could produce the nuclear detonator maybe under a year, maybe only a few months.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
Less than a year. So let me pull out my calculator here. 1996, 2025. It's been 30 years, 29 years, and he's been saying the exact same thing. They are at the exact same percent. He has been saying, oh, no, I said 96. It was 92. Since 1992, he has been saying they are at 60%. They could be at, when you get to 60%, it could take a month and you'll be at 100% and you can nuke the world. At some point, we need to stop just taking his word for it and say, you know what? Maybe they don't have what we said Saddam Hussein had. We went in and did the Iraq war based on the exact same thing said by the exact same person. He said before Iran, not really before Iran, but I guess he just decided to choose Saddam Hussein and say he's got weapons of mass destruction. Imminent threat to the whole world. Okay, let's go in. They found no weapons of mass destruction. They created regime change, and now we're dealing with the different type of terrorists that he was holding back. Now we're going back to the Iran talking point that they're going to get nuclear weapons. They're at the same level that they've been since 1992. Where were you in 1992? Where where was everyone in here in 1992? Because I said 96. Where were you in 1992? He literally used the exact same talking points. And we can keep saying, hey, they're terrorists, and they are. And you can send in squads for that kind of stuff. But this guy has been using the exact same talking points for 33 years. At what point do we say, yeah, you guys can take care of it, we're not funding it? Do it. Do what you say you're going to do. Do what you say you're going to do.
As a consequence of October 7th
This is
and
outrageous.
all of its allies
Iran is now trying to develop nuclear bombs. I think the United States should be very clear in forming an international coalition, with Israel, of course. We have to make sure that these single-man regimes do not acquire weapons of mass destruction.
1992, he said that Iran was an imminent threat for having nuclear weapons. This is 1996.
The most dangerous of these regimes is Iran. I believe that only the United States can lead this vital international effort to stop the nuclearization of terrorist states. But the deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. Time is running out.
How many times can the same guy say the same thing and we allow that to get us into these wars in Arab countries? We're getting into wars with all these Arab countries, and a lot of them are bad, and a lot of them they hate us. But maybe they hate us because we blindly support a guy who keeps putting the same charges on everyone around him. He can be 100% right, but that's got nothing to do with me. I am not an isolationist, Taryn. What I'm saying is, how many times are we going to use this guy and follow him into his wars? How many times are we going to do this? This is clearly what he wants. First stage, up to 70%. Second stage, 90%. And all of a sudden, they're going to have nuclear weapons. This is 2012, dude. Where were you in 2012?
Spring, at most, by next summer, they will have
Next summer, they will be finished with a nuclear bomb again. This is like the global warming stuff. Every year, we're 10 years away. At some point, we got to say, all right, what's really going on here? What's really going on here?
The medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks before.
Only a few months, possibly a few weeks. It's been only a few months, possibly a few weeks since 1992. When are we going to need proof of what this guy's saying?
Before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. Iran could produce the nuclear detonator maybe under a year. Maybe only a few months. If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year.
I just, it's mind-blowing that in 2025, we're okay with just saying, oh, wow, oh my gosh, and acting as if what he's saying is true. We don't allow anyone else to do this to us. We don't. Listen, dude, you're a sovereign nation. You want to attack another sovereign nation, do what you're going to do. But as part of our alliance, that's if you're attacked. And I understand you want to say that, they're being attacked by terrorists. Okay, cool. But that has nothing to do with dropping bombs on the country. Do your missions, do your black ops, do what you've been doing since 1976. Cool, 78, whatever year it was, whatever Olympics that was. You can do all of that, but we're not going to. You can't just keep picking fights with people, whether you think you're responding and you're justified, whatever, and calling your big brother. At some point, your big brother will say, "All right, man, hey, listen, how many fights are you going to get in? What are we doing?" Because I'm getting jumped because of you. People are chanting for death to America because of you. This whole regime change thing, I'm not with it. I'm really not. I'm not anti-Israel. I'm not pro-Palestine. I'm not pro any of that. I do not believe it is in our interest to do what we're doing right now. And I was really proud of this moment because this happened a few hours ago. This happened this morning when Trump woke up. He was really mad because he negotiated a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. Iran had to stop firing for like 12 hours or something like that. And then Israel, after those 12 hours, if they didn't get any bombs, they would stop firing. And this was a deal that was made yesterday. And Trump said, this is what it is. This is what it's going to be. And then around midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, Israel just starts dropping bombs on Iran saying, well, they broke the treaty. How do we know? How do we know? So now that leads to Trump saying this. First of all, Iran struck back at a facility, but they struck back to save face because they called ahead. They called ahead and said, hey, we're about to drop bombs on here. We need to save face. So they bombed one of our air bases. Again, we're not supposed to be involved in this. But Trump did what he did. They did their retaliation. He negotiated a ceasefire, and both sides said there was no ceasefire. So he's just making this up.
Violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Oops. So this, go back. So since Trump yelled at both sides, Israel went back to bombing in Palestine, or bombing in Gaza. Palestinian witnesses and hospitals say Israeli forces opened fire toward hundreds of people waiting for aid trucks in central Gaza, killing at least 25 people. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's a lie. What I do know is that Israel is actively refusing to allow journalists from around the world into that war zone. As long as I've been alive, there have been journalists in war zones reporting what's happening on the ground. Israel won't let it happen. That's a big red flag for me. A big red flag for me. So when Palestinians make a claim like this, it may be true, it may not be true. I don't know. But one side is not allowing reporters to go there from anywhere, not even from America. We can't go there. We can fund it, but it's for your safety. That's never been the case as long as TV reporting has been around. There have been reporters in war. There have been reporters in hurricanes. There have been reporters in the middle of tornadoes. It's what they do. Every conflict, every war has had reporters there saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing. But in this one, for some reason, we're not allowed there. That's a red flag. I'm not with it. That's not what this country is. That's not what we do here. We don't hide stuff like this from the American. Well, correct. We're not supposed to hide stuff like this from the American people. We fund this. It is our country. You represent me. I need to know what's going on. And if you're going to jump into a war, you need to know what's going on. That's my opinion. That's my opinion on why the illegal immigration is such a huge story, because they had nothing else to talk about. Now that Iran is there, Iran's the bad guy. Automatically, Israel's the good guy. Whether you believe that or not, I don't care. I just don't want to be involved in it. I don't want troops going there. I don't want my money going there. Iran could be everything they say, just like Russia. Putin's everything they say is okay, fine. It's still not my war. That's my position on this. I'm OTM Speaks. If you're new here, like, subscribe, share. This is what I do. I appreciate everyone who's in there. Mr. Thick Cut. Oh, that sounded bad. Thick Cut. John Thompson, Taryn the Black. Thank you guys for stopping in here. Miss Akimi, I will always agree or disagree respectfully. Lester, thank you for stopping by. Who else was in here? Miss Phoenix Rising, as always, thank you very much for stopping by. Who else was in here? Let me see. Let's go up. I go backwards when I do this. Rehearsed Spontaneity, Miss Genesis, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you as always. Mike Levin, thank you very much. Vibe in my lane. I haven't seen you in a while. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming back. Who else was in here? Spare me your angst from Rumble. I appreciate you, Miss Meek Meek. I think it's got to be Miss Meek Meek. No guy would call himself Meek Meek, right? Got to be Miss Meek Meek. Meek Meek, thank you very much. Appreciate you for stopping by. Mel Dub, thank you, sir. Paul Thomas, as always, thank you. Dan Tana, appreciate you for stopping by, sir. Appreciate you every time. I just added you. I didn't even see your request, man. I apologize. Baker Man Jr., Mr. TP, thank you, sir. Both of you guys, appreciate everyone who stopped by and supported. It's always, always, always appreciated. Again, I'm O Speaks. I think I got everybody. I'm O Speaks. Like, subscribe, share. I'm almost at the top. Almost there. Just J, Miss Just J. Miss Just J was my first, I believe, mod. Thank you so much. Appreciate you as always. Miss Baker was here. I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I missed that one. Miss Baker was in here. Thank you. Thank you. Easy did it. Mill Ticket was in here. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the support. I believe I got everybody. I'm right there at the top, Miss Just J. Yep, that's everybody. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna go out on some Gangstar. Came in, I believe it was Main Source, Faking the Funk. We're gonna leave with Gangstar. Now You're Mine. You don't know that, you're not old enough. It don't matter.